In a world of pathetic liberal potholes, he's a truck full of hot constitutional asphalt. Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
Well, it's a pleasure to have my friend Ann Coulter. How are you?
Hello, Mark Levin.
Hello, Ann Coulter. Why are you always so peppy?
Because I'm talking to you, and it's so nice of you to have me on.
Well, you're very kind.
The last time you had me on before, I did my one and only book signing a couple of years ago. Half the people at the book signing had just heard about it on your show. So bless
Really?
you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I mean, I wasn't preempted. That's always good.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, before we get started here, you have a big book signing tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Tell me where,
at
how,
the
when.
Nixon Library, and it's going to be on your station, KABC, out here. We're going to do a live radio broadcast and take questions from the audience.
Really? That's cool.
I know, it'll be fun.
So Jack Silver, our program director there, my brother, huh?
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? No. Well, he's in charge out there.
Yes, your brother.
No, he's not really my brother. But anyway, let's see. The Nixon Library. I've never been to the Nixon
Library.
Library,
by the way. You would never know going to the two libraries, the Nixon Library and the Reagan Library, that Reagan was the more conservative president.
Oh, really?
Because the magnificent curator of the Nixon Museum, I think his name is John Carr. He is so good, and everything that Nixon did that we don't like, at least this is the way it used to be. The government is sort of horning in on it now. It would be, Nixon passed wage and price controls only because the Democrats were about to do something much worse.
I love that. Now, but they cover up over there at the Clinton Library. You ever been to that library?
No. Do they have a big section on Jennifer Flowers and Monica Lewinsky?
I do. I think you actually need to take shots when you leave the place. But anyway, now your book, Demonic, tremendous book, up there on the New York Times bestseller list. Would you agree or disagree that Obama is demonic, yes or no?
Yes, he has all the attributes of a mob, and a mob of mob psychology, and mobs are demonic. So I'd put it that way.
Yeah, a mob leader type.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. That's what I mean, too, by the way. Not a demon, but yes.
Right. Nancy Pelosi, demonic. Obama, more mob psychology. I mean, as for example, a big part of his campaign was attacking George Bush for the Iraq War. It's illegitimate. It's a war for regime change. Iraq didn't hit us on 9/11. And then he becomes president and intervenes in Libya and Egypt, both of which I am pretty sure he's doing for regime change, and neither of which hit us on 9/11 either. It's just, beautiful contradictory thinking. To be able to do that in the same sentence, it's one thing if it's 20 years apart and, there are different circumstances here. No, they're just perfectly comfortable with contradictory thinking, members of mobs.
Well, speaking of regime change, I was watching his whatever conference this thing was today, and he's going on and on with class warfare, typical about, the Republicans basically, senior citizens aren't going to get your checks, and what about the weather service? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, the weather service? I mean, we're trillions and trillions in the hole, and I'm worried about the weather. I mean, but by the way, I agree with it. By demonic, I mean, into that whole left-wing mob mentality. I mean, isn't that part of it, too?
Yes. But what I like about that, I did not see that. I saw some of the press conference and saw some of the headlines. What I like about him citing the Weather Service is we have $1 trillion budget, and the one federal program he can come up with that he thinks people might not hate is one that probably costs $100,000 a year.
The Weather Service.
The Weather Service.
Well, we already know there's climate change. It's getting hot. What kind of weather do we need? We already know where we're headed. But anyway, and then he goes on about, we have to deal with these tax expenditures. I'm thinking, tax expenditures? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, what's a tax expenditure? You tell me. Do you know what a tax expenditure is?
All I know is we can't afford tax cuts. That's my favorite phrase.
Yes.
Afford tax cuts. It's like saying I can't afford for you not to give me a raise because I need a yacht.
Yeah, isn't that weird? And then he was focused in on corporate jets, going on and on. like he has Tourette's or something.
The one that burned me up. Speaking of people who make $250,000 a year and their jets. This just shows how completely out of touch liberals are with what things cost.
Now, having studied this sort of mob mentality, because that's what he's trying to do, rabble-rouse, get people all worked up, turn them against each other, you think this will work?
I am hoping it will work less well if people read my book, because once you see the earmarks of mob psychology, it almost inoculates you from it. And I mean, I was halfway through writing this book, and I couldn't watch MSNBC without thinking, oh yeah, I know that. That's repetition. That's use of slogans. That's use of an image. And he is certainly using all the Rousseauian mob techniques of demagoguery. And, you know, Medicare, Social Security are going bankrupt. The budget is in crisis. He ran against George Bush. You know, the economy was supposed to be his top priority other than shooting hoops, and he won't deal with it. He won't even engage in the budget talks, and to add insult to injury, he sends that blithering idiot Joe Biden. Why not send the White House dog?
Well, he did, Joe Biden. Now, the book is demonic. By the way, Mr. Producer, let's get it up on my website and on our social sites. And, you know, have you taken a lot of attacks for the title of this book?
I really haven't, surprisingly enough. I think liberals are afraid to attack me now, which really is not helping book sales.
But the thing is, they've done it so much, and it doesn't work. Maybe they said, all right, let's find somebody else, like Michelle Bachmann.
Right. I think there's something to that, though. I mean, it did take them 8 books to figure it out. But also it kind of contradicts my point that liberals can't learn. Apparently after 8 times they can.
By the way, I'm honestly curious, have you, I don't remember all their names, are all the books a one-word title?
High Crimes and Misdemeanors, the first one was not. And then there are 2 books that are in part collections. One was a collection of columns, one was a collection of quotes. And there was some original stuff, but part of the idea of the one-word title is to indicate that it's all original material.
I can't remember what I've written, to be perfectly honest with you.
Though I wish I had called my last book Guilty, which was about, that was the actual title, which was about, you know, liberals using victimology to get ahead, and everybody wants to be a victim, and the victims are actually the oppressors. And in retrospect, I wish I'd called that book You're Not Black.
Okay, great. Well, you can always do a sequel, you know.
The whole thing more clearly.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, remind everybody where you're going to be again tomorrow evening.
Thank you, Mark Levin. Nixon Library, 7 p.m., live radio broadcast with KABC, and taking questions from the audience, and we'll be signing books.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yep, it'll be a lot of fun. You get your now. Do you personalize all the signatures depending on how many people are there, or what?
Yes, as long as it's short. When it starts to get into extremely long, I mean, I'll do happy birthday, happy anniversary, best, and to the person's name, but usually not a very long greeting after that, because everyone else in line will get mad at both of us.
Right, and the problem is people don't realize at the end of the line, people have been waiting 3, 4, 5. They want to, they want a shot at it too.
Right.
What are you going to be talking about? Your book.
Yes, and now I see everything through the prism of my book, so I'm sure it'll be politics. I haven't talked to John Phillips, you know him, about specifically what we're talking about, but I am sure it will be whatever the breaking news is, and I'll interpret it in terms of mob psychology.
Well, it is a beautiful library. It'll be a wonderful event. I hope everybody will turn out and see Ann. Now, Ann doesn't do these really long book signing tours like all these other people. So if you want to see her out there in the Los Angeles area, Orange County, like Irvine, where my son is and so forth, and Ventura and so forth, you want to get to the Nixon Library. Tomorrow evening's the night to do it. Ann, God bless you, my friend.
God bless you. So great to talk to you, Mark. Thank you.
You too. Take care. It's Ann Coulter.